Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really profoundly impactful journey, one that touches countless lives.
hmm
And it often serves as, well, a beacon of hope for those navigating some truly challenging waters.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the art of spiritual guidance, specifically how experienced members approach guiding someone through the transformative 12 steps of recovery. This isn't merely about, understanding a set of instructions. It's really about mastering a way of being and, maybe more importantly, a way of helping.
Indeed. And our mission in this deep dive is, well, to distill the wisdom from a really rich collection of perspectives. We want to offer you a shortcut, sort of, to being truly well informed about this incredibly vital aspect of recovery.
Yeah, a shortcut to understanding.
Right. We'll explore the non-negotiable importance of grounding our approach in the foundational literature, the big book, the 12 and 12. We'll talk about setting clear, compassionate expectations and understanding how to tailor this deeply personal process to each individual, and all while upholding the core principles of recovery. Think of this as maybe a workshop for anyone looking to understand or indeed offer true spiritual guidance.
Exactly. We're here to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from these insights. We're offering you not just facts, but hopefully some surprising revelations and profound wisdom along the way.
hmm
So whether you're supporting someone on this path, maybe contemplating it for yourself, or simply curious about one of humanity's most successful frameworks for profound change, grab your notebook. We're about to unpack some truly powerful truths.
Understanding the landscape of addiction and recovery's origins.
Okay, let's begin at the very genesis of this journey. Let's look at the challenge the 12 steps were designed to address: alcoholism and addiction. For so long, there's been this prevalent perception, hasn't there, that it's, a moral failing,
Oh,
a
absolutely.
sign of weakness, or simply a lack of willpower that someone could just snap out of.
That perception is so deeply ingrained, but the foundational literature of recovery, especially the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it strongly pushes back against that. It describes alcoholism not as a moral deficiency, but as an abnormal state of health characterized by specific signs and symptoms with a chronic progressive course.
Chronic and progressive, that's key.
It is. And what's crucial here is that it's identified as a primary symptom,
Yeah.
not secondary to some underlying character flaw. We may not fully understand all its causes, much like we don't fully understand every aspect of heart disease or cancer, right? But the literature acknowledges that the irrational behavior of an alcoholic is often beyond his control. This perspective, it's a monumental shift. It dispels that old notion of being weak-willed and pathetic.
Yeah, that's huge.
It fundamentally changes the conversation from judgment to comprehension. And that's vital for both the suffering individual and, importantly for our topic today, those attempting to offer guidance. Without this understanding, observers, family, friends, they often misinterpret a person's behavior, leading to frustration and further isolation.
And we see so many harrowing personal accounts that vividly reflect this. I mean, the stories. One individual, for instance, recalls how liquor transformed from a source of initial fun into their enemy, systematically poisoning their love for family and friends, their ambition, and their self-respect.
Just eroding everything.
Yeah. They describe waking up needing a drink just to start the day, or missing work entirely, too drunk to even stand up. It's terrifying. Another describes indulging in a self-will-run riot for years, living entirely on their own terms, or so they thought,
Right, the illusion of control.
only to find themselves completely alone and utterly unable to function without alcohol, even as they knew deep down they drank too much. The internal conflict described in these stories is just palpable, isn't it? A desperate struggle where they intellectually grasp the problem but are utterly powerless to stop it on their own.
Yes, and this is where the scientific understanding kind of beautifully aligns with the lived experience and the spiritual insight. The source material explains that the brain doesn't just change with addiction. It undergoes a profound restructuring.
Restructuring.
Yeah. New neural pathways are carved out, strengthening the connection between cues, cravings, and drug-seeking behavior. We're talking about the brain's reward system, particularly dopamine pathways, becoming hijacked.
Hijacked. That's a good word for it.
It really is. It makes us unconsciously repeat behaviors, even when they cause us immense harm. It's described as a learned chemical response, where the brain, in essence, rewires itself to prioritize the addictive substance above all else.
Above everything. Family, job, health.
Everything. And this inevitably leads to a crushing internal conflict, what we might call a divided mind or cognitive dissonance. Imagine a part of you screaming, "This is destroying my life," while another, more primitive part, driven by these deep-seated neuroadaptations, compulsively seeks the drug.
That sounds incredibly painful.
It is. It's an internal war. The person might genuinely hate smoking or drinking, but feels an overwhelming inability to deal with life without it. And it's crucial to distinguish this from a lack of desire to quit. It's about a profound, almost biological inability to do so on one's own.
So it's not willpower.
Not in the way people usually mean it. The repeated use literally produces neural adaptations in the brain, rendering it increasingly and perhaps permanently hypersensitive to the drug. This means the craving can occur separately from actually liking the drug. You might despise the effects, but the urge is still overwhelming. Driving compulsive behavior despite severe negative consequences like loss of reputation, job, home, and family. Understanding this biological component, it fosters immense empathy. It shifts the narrative from moral failing to a health issue requiring treatment and spiritual intervention.
So what does this all mean for someone embarking on recovery or for someone guiding them, like a sponsor? It sounds like recognizing this fundamental, complex nature of the problem, both its physical and spiritual dimensions, is the first crucial step, not just for the individual struggling, but for those guiding them, too.
It means empathy and understanding are absolutely paramount. Non-negotiable, really. The journey often begins with admitting complete defeat, that moment when every natural instinct cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness.
Complete defeat, that's strong language.
It has to be. The literature likens alcohol to a rapacious creditor that bleeds one of all self-sufficiency and all will to resist its demands. This stark acceptance, this hitting bottom maybe, is where true healing can finally begin, because it's the moment self-reliance is finally seen as insufficient. It also highlights that family members, they must come to understand alcoholism as a disease to maintain healthy emotional distance and better support the person. Otherwise, they themselves risk being destroyed by their involvement in the cycle of addiction.
Right, it affects everyone around the person.
Absolutely. So this foundational understanding of addiction as a disease, rather than a moral failing, it fundamentally shifts the approach. From condemnation to compassionate support and effective treatment, it establishes a crucial context for all the steps that follow.
Okay, so once this understanding of addiction begins to sink in, once that wall of denial starts to crumble, it paves the way for a profoundly different kind of solution. And that solution, of course, for millions is the 12 steps. It's fascinating to consider, though, where did these life-changing principles, this entire framework, truly originate?
Yeah, the history is quite something. The story of Alcoholics Anonymous, and thus the 12 steps, traces back to the early 1930s, primarily with Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith. Bill Wilson, he was a New York stockbroker who had struggled desperately with his own drinking. He found a profound, albeit temporary, relief through the Oxford Group.
The Oxford Group.
Yes, an evangelical Christian organization. He experienced what he described as a profound spiritual awakening. He talked about seeing a bright light God. This was after a period of detox and notably having been given some hallucinogens in the hospital at the time.
Interesting detail.
It is. And this experience led him to the realization that he could be freed from his addiction by, crucially, helping other alcoholics. This experience, as described in his autobiography, wasn't an instantaneous permanent cure, but rather a powerful wind on the mountain that marked a definitive turning point in his life.
A turning point, not a magic wand.
Precisely. And then there's Dr. Bob, the acronym proctologist. He initially found himself deeply skeptical of the spiritual nature of this new group.
Even though he had an interest in religion.
Yeah, despite having a long-standing hobby in religious philosophy. Yet he was undeniably drawn to the poise, health, and happiness of these acquaintances that Bill Wilson introduced him to. He sensed they possessed something he desperately lacked.
That's powerful, seeing the results in others.
It is, and it's quite remarkable. It took him 2.5 years of attending meetings and practicing these new ideas before he finally attained solid, lasting sobriety in June 1935. His experience is a truly powerful testament to persistence. It shows conviction isn't always immediate. It can be a gradual process of observation, participation, and a growing willingness to try something different.
2.5 years. That's dedication.
It really is. And it's also important to note the nuance in Bill Wilson's own narrative. His story about his sobriety, well, it varied somewhat depending on the audience. He often emphasized different aspects.
Really? How so?
Well, the Big Book version highlights an unequivocal epiphany, right? A dramatic moment. But his autobiography admits to a few more binges after his initial contact.
Oh, okay.
Now, this wasn't about vanity or deception. It was more about pragmatism. He deliberately wanted to stress identification and fellowship as the core of the program, rather than an intense spiritual experience that many newcomers might not immediately relate to or have.
That makes sense, meeting people where they are.
Exactly. It highlights the inherent adaptability and inclusivity of the program from its very inception, even as it codified its core spiritual idea in the 12 steps. The early members of AA explicitly learned that excessive personal publicity or prominence in the work was found to be bad,
Why was that?
because alcoholics who talked too much on public platforms were highly likely to become inflated and get drunk again. Ego, right?
Ah, okay. Principles before personalities.
You got it. This reinforced the idea that the message, the principles of recovery, not the messenger's specific personal experience, was paramount.
So the 12 steps weren't just spontaneously generated. They emerged from this rich, often messy, and deeply human real-world experience.
Absolutely. Trial and error, shared experience.
And the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, quickly became the basic textbook for this burgeoning new fellowship.
Precisely. It was a collaborative effort prepared by 100 or so alcoholics who had learned to stay sober by helping each other. They meticulously documented their shared experiences and the practical application of the steps. This book, and the fellowship named after it, became the enduring foundation.
A book written by the people it was for.
Exactly. And early AA also borrowed profound insights from diverse intellectual and spiritual figures. People like the psychiatrist Carl Jung, the philosopher William James, and the pioneering addiction doctor William Silkworth. It showcases its diverse intellectual and spiritual heritage.
So not just one source of wisdom.
Not at all. This collective wisdom, rather than a singular doctrine, formed the basis of what became a global movement for recovery. It's a unique blend of personal experience, spiritual principle, and psychological insight. The initial ascent, steps 1, 2, and 3, laying the groundwork for change.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with step 1. For anyone guiding a sponsee, and for those new to the terminology, a sponsee is someone seeking recovery, guided by a sponsor and experienced member. The first step, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Sounds deceptively simple.
Deceptively is the right word.
But the literature suggests it's anything but. What makes this initial admission so profoundly difficult?
It is profoundly, sometimes excruciatingly difficult. The text itself asks, WHO cares to admit complete defeat. Practically no one, of course.
Right, who wants to admit defeat?
Exactly. It states that every natural instinct cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. You're essentially admitting a bankruptcy is going human concerns because alcohol has become the rapacious creditor that has stripped away all self-sufficiency and the will to resist its demands.
Bankruptcy.
It's not just an intellectual assent, you know. It's a deep, gut-wrenching realization of utter defeat. One individual recounts their lifelong history of breaking promises, of being unable to concentrate, of waking up in cold sweats. But it was in a meeting, surrounded by others, that they began to feel something different.
The power of the group.
Absolutely. They remember, here, strangers hug me. It gets better, they said, and one day at a time, you can do it. This immediate sense of belonging and understanding, for many, is what helps them begin to accept their condition and start the painful process of admitting powerlessness.
That's a powerful framework. I'm curious, though, are there common initial resistances or interpretations of powerlessness that sponsors need to be particularly aware of, especially for newcomers who might feel that concept is disempowering rather than liberating? How do you, as a guide, help someone through this initial painful admission? Is it about, confronting them with their past or something else entirely?
That's a crucial distinction because many initially misunderstand powerlessness as weakness or giving up. A sponsor's role is not to confront, not to beat them over the head with it, but to help the sponsee arrive at their own necessary surrender.
Their own surrender.
Yes. As one source puts it, a person in the beginning can't really be expected to say they want to give up drinking entirely, because if they truly could just decide that, they would have already done so.
Good point.
Instead, they need to reach a point where they say something like, I would like to be shown how to reconstruct my mental processes so that in due time, I will no longer want to drink. It's a subtle shift from fighting alcohol directly to a willingness to change one's internal landscape. That's key.
Okay, changing the thinking.
Right. A sponsor's own experience of powerlessness, shared vulnerably and without, exhibitionism, can be vital here. It creates immediate identification. As one individual recalled finding understanding, thinking, here were people who had thought and felt as I had.
Finding your tribe, in a way.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a readiness to learn and accepting that one's own efforts alone will be unavailing if I did not get help out. The key is a genuine willingness to seek a new way of thinking, recognizing that past self-efforts, no matter how sincere, have repeatedly failed.
So this step isn't about giving up. It's about giving in to a new way of thinking and acting.
Perfectly put. Giving into a solution.
Okay, so once that initial defeat is acknowledged, once that heavy burden of trying to control the uncontrollable is maybe set down, the path then naturally and often surprisingly opens to step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, this is where questions about faith frequently arise, right?
Oh, yeah.
Particularly for those who are agnostic or atheist, or maybe who've been hurt by organized religion in the past.
This raises an important and, I think, beautifully inclusive aspect of the program. The literature explicitly states that faith is never an imperative for AA membership.
Never an imperative, okay.
And that sobriety can be achieved with an easily acceptable minimum of it. The genius of the program, really, is that the concept of a higher power and God as we understand him, well, it affords everyone a nearly unlimited choice of spiritual beliefs and action.
As we understand him, that's the crucial phrase.
It is. For many, their AA group itself can initially serve as that higher power. It becomes the first concrete evidence of a power greater than themselves, a collective strength they lacked individually.
The group itself as a higher power, that's interesting.
Yeah, the focus is on finding something, anything, outside of one's own failed will and ego, rather than adhering to a specific theological doctrine. It could be nature, the universe, principles like love or service, or simply the collective wisdom of the group.
So it's very broad.
Extremely broad. Yeah. Intentionally so.
I remember one powerful count where the word God was genuinely frightening at first for someone.
That happens a lot.
This individual had tried everything to stop drinking, but couldn't sustain the desire. Their faith had turned bitter because they felt God had failed them, or maybe they had failed God.
A common feeling.
It took time, but by sticking with the program, attending meetings, and practicing the principles, their faith was gradually resurrected. They came to believe in a power greater than myself simply by stopping the fight and practicing the program as enthusiastically as I could.
That's a perfect illustration.
It's a powerful example of how belief can emerge organically from action and observation, rather than being a prerequisite for entry. It truly feels like an experiential spiritual journey.
What's fascinating here is exactly that. The process often begins with an intellectual acceptance, a kind of, maybe this could work for me thought. Then it moves to an emotional connection, and eventually, for many, a spiritual belief.
Intellect, emotion, spirit.
Right. The source material notes that true humility and an open mind can lead us to faith, and every AA meeting is an assurance that God will restore us to sanity if we rightly relate ourselves to him. It's described as a glorious release from being all alone, a profound shift from that self-will-run riot to trusting in far broader shoulders than my own.
A release from being alone that hits home.
This step transforms the terrifying isolation of addiction into a profound connection. It replaces an unsustainable self-reliance with a more expansive, collaborative approach to life's challenges.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of the need to be the sole architect of your universe.
Yeah, letting go of playing God.
Exactly.
So with this flicker of belief, this opening to something greater than oneself, we moved to step 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. After acknowledging powerlessness and a higher power, this feels like an even bigger, more comprehensive commitment. How do we distinguish this turning over from simply, giving up?
It is a huge commitment, absolutely. But it's crucial to understand it not as a forced surrender, but as a deliberate decision to align one's will with a higher power's will, rather than constantly battling against it or trying to impose your own.
Aligning, not surrendering in a passive way.
Right. The literature states, our whole trouble had been the misuse of willpower. We had tried to bombard our problems with it instead of attempting to bring it into agreement with God's intention for us. This step is about realizing that while the individual made a start by relying on AA for their alcohol problem, they likely have more problems than alcohol.
Ah, okay. It's not just the substance.
Rarely is. These other problems refuse to be solved by all the sheer personal determination and courage they can muster. These are the deeper issues, right? Character defects, the unresolved traumas, the emotional dysregulation that fuel the drinking in the first place. And these will inevitably threaten sobriety if left unaddressed.
And these deeper underlying issues could be things like remorse and guilt over past actions, bitterness over past harms inflicted by others or self-inflicted, financial insecurity or strained family affections, all things that threaten his newfound sobriety.
Exactly.
So the surrender here is to deal with the entirety of one's life, not just the drinking. It's about recognizing that alcohol was merely a symptom of a deeper spiritual and emotional disease. And true, lasting recovery requires addressing the root causes, the whole tapestry of one's life.
Exactly. Spot on. For a guide, a sponsor, it's about helping the sponsee understand that this is not a matter of trying to coerce or compel themselves into a belief or an action. It's not about forcing it. It's
Right.
about cultivating a willingness to let go. As one account states, once the impulse to use comes, they concede that their mental processes were no longer to be trusted, and they had to ask for help.
Trusting something outside yourself again.
Yes. The Hindu deity Ganesh, often depicted as the remover of obstacles, is a powerful image some use to envisage jealousy or self-righteousness being removed, to allow a clear and undiminished light to radiate. This emphasizes that willingness is the key, moving beyond "this is just the way I am"
That fatalistic thinking.
to actively seeking change, acknowledging that one's habitual way of operating is no longer serving them. The core of this step is acknowledging that self-will left unchecked has led to disaster, and that a different approach, one rooted in trusting a higher power, is not just helpful, but necessary for a truly new life.
This is truly where clear expectations come into play for a sponsor, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You're not just telling them what to do, you're helping them frame this decision in a way that resonates with their understanding. And that crucially includes confronting the difficult, uncomfortable parts of their lives. It's about showing them how the program offers a pathway to solve the broader problems that alcohol had only masked, and ensuring they understand that this commitment is to a whole new way of living, a profound spiritual reorientation, not just to abstaining from a drink.
Precisely. It's the foundation for everything that comes next. The deep dive. Steps 4 through 9, self-reflection and amends.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and often quite daunting for people. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves.
Obey one.
Yeah. This sounds, to many, like staring directly into the abyss, confronting every mistake, every regret. From our sources, what are the most common unexpected hurdles people encounter when they begin this deeply uncomfortable process? And how do experienced guides help them navigate what truly feels like a terrifying self-reckoning?
That's a perceptive way to put it. Terrifying self-reckoning. It can feel like an earthquake that cracks everything open. The most common and often unexpected hurdle is our fabulous capacity for self-deception. It's amazing how good we are at it.
Right. We can rationalize anything.
Anything. The natural tendency, as the literature points out, is to avoid it, to cry that our present anxieties and troubles are caused by the behavior of other people. We believe our indignation is justified and reasonable, that our resentments are the right kind. We aren't the guilty ones, they are.
The blame game.
Exactly. This self-deception is a formidable obstacle because it prevents any honest self-assessment. It allows us to hide our many serious flaws under a comfortable cloak of perceived virtue or victimhood. It's like, cleaning out a garage you've ignored for years, you know it needs doing, but the sheer thought of what you'll find, it's paralyzing.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
The unexpected insight here is that this step isn't just about identifying external harms done to us, but deeply examining our own motivations and character defects that led to those harms, or our reactions to them.
Our part in it.
Our part.
That's such a universal human tendency, though, to externalize blame. So a sponsor's role here is to gently but firmly redirect that focus back to the self, helping the sponsee untangle the complex web of their own involvement.
Precisely. Gently but firmly is key. The literature notes that sponsors come to the rescue, showing the newcomer that his case is not strange or different, and his character defects are probably not more numerous or worse than those of anyone else in AA. That's huge.
Normalizing it.
Yes. This is done powerfully by the sponsor, talking freely and easily and without exhibitionism about his own defects, past and present. This calm yet realistic stock-taking is immensely reassuring. It creates a shared vulnerability that diffuses fear and shame.
Takes the sting out of it.
Right. They also help to highlight assets which can be noted along with his liabilities, to clear away morbidity and encourage balance. It's not just about the bad stuff.
Finding the good, too, important.
Emotional. This creates a safe, shared space where vulnerability is met with understanding, not judgment. It makes the daunting task of self-inventory less terrifying and more a path to self-acceptance.
It's about creating a safe space for radical honesty, truly. The source material uses very strong, direct language here, doesn't it?
It does. No messing around.
To emphasize the need for raw honesty, instructing us to write down all the things that are really messing with your life or have ever caused you problems, and don't lie or leave anything out.
Don't leave anything out. Fearless.
Categorizing these into areas like pride, self-esteem, personal relations, sexual relations, ambition, security, and finances, that structure must be incredibly illuminating.
It provides a framework, yeah.
Oh.
Stops it being just a jumble of guilt.
And importantly, it shifts the inquiry from simply what happened to our role in it, asking, what could I have done differently? Or what fear lies beneath this resentment?
Yes, that shift.
It shifts the focus from victimhood to accountability, which feels like a powerful step towards personal liberation.
Indeed, this radical self-honesty is the bedrock. It's about peeling back the layers of rationalization and external blame to see our own role in our unhappiness. The act of writing it down, it concretizes these abstract resentments and fears. It allows for systematic examination, not just fleeting anxious thoughts.
Getting it out of your head and onto paper.
Exactly. The process involves identifying fears, resentments, and harms, particularly in relationships, including sexual harms. Then meticulously examining our part in them. For instance, when looking at resentments, a guide might encourage questions like, what was my part in this situation? Where have I been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate? What fear lies beneath my anger or resentment?
Probing questions.
They have to be. These questions push the sponsee beyond superficial grievances to the underlying character defects. This facilitates genuine insight and a profound desire for change. It's not about self-flagellation, remember. It's about self-discovery and finding a path to freedom from those patterns.
Okay, so with that intense self-reflection under their belt, the sponsee moves to step 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs.
Hearing it.
This seems to deepen the vulnerability even further, moving from personal reflection to shared confession with a trusted individual. How does this act of sharing contribute to healing in a way that simply writing it down might not?
You've hit on a crucial point. Admitting our wrongs to another human being is a critical part of breaking the profound isolation that addiction fosters. And it's key to overcoming that self-deception we just talked about.
Breaking the isolation.
Yes. One individual recounted, I dragged out all my sins of commission and omission. I told everything I could think of that might be the cause of creating a fear situation, a remorse situation, or a shame situation. They continued. It was pretty terrible, I thought then, to lay myself bare that way, but I know now that such is the first step away from the precipice.
Wow, the first step away from the precipice.
Powerful, isn't it? The sponsor almost always serves as that another human being, offering a compassionate, non-judgmental ear. This makes this seemingly terrifying act a pathway to relief and healing. This is the crucial moment where the internal becomes external, where the heavy burden of secrets, often kept locked away for years, finally begins to lift.
Releasing the burden.
Right. The act of voicing these deeply held shames to another human being who often shares their own similar experiences in return creates an unparalleled bond and sense of connection. You're not alone in it.
This sounds like the ultimate trust exercise. How is it that sharing these deeply personal, often shameful parts of ourselves can be so profoundly healing? What's the maybe psychological mechanism at play there?
Well, it helps to release the internal conflict and the sheer pain of addiction caused by the constant need to lie to themselves and others to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Maintaining those facades is exhausting.
Constantly hiding.
Exactly. When you are unable to trust yourself, it is terrifying, creating an unbearable psychic burden. The act of confession, particularly with a trusted sponsor who holds it in confidence, begins to dismantle those self-created walls, the elaborate defenses built over years.
The walls come down.
Hopefully. This simple, humble sentence, often used as an entry point to your face-to-face amends, as described in one source, is something like, as you know, I am an addict. Part of the process of my recovery from addiction is that I must make amends to those I have wronged. I have wronged you, and I owe you an amends.
Just stating it plainly.
Yes. And this kind of raw honesty can evoke a subtle awe and unbidden peerfulness in the listener, bringing a profound sense of grace and connection. This honesty breaks the insidious cycle of self-deception that perpetuates addiction. It allows for a more authentic connection with oneself, with a higher power, and ultimately with others. It's the moment the light begins to shine in the darkest corners.
Okay, moving from the detailed inventory and the vulnerable confession, we then get to steps 6 and 7.
Readiness and humility.
We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character and humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. This shifts the focus from identifying problems to actually releasing them. That sounds like a huge leap of faith.
It is a leap, yes.
What does entirely ready truly mean here? Does anyone ever feel entirely ready?
That's a great question. These steps are profoundly about readiness and humility, and they are distinct from each other. Step 6 asks us to look deeper, that we be more honest and thoughtful, and it prepares us for the remaining steps of our recovery. It's a deep inquiry into what we most want to change and how vulnerable we're willing to be.
Willingness again?
It's central. Entirely ready doesn't mean perfect or without fear. It means a profound willingness to have these defects removed, even the ones we're secretly attached to. It's no longer saying, this is just the way I am, but rather, I am now willing that you, my higher power, should have all of me, good and bad, and help me shed these burdens.
Willing for the higher power to take over that part.
Yes. This willingness to open up and approach life differently, to believe that a higher power works with us, that's the spirit of Step 6. It's the recognition that these defects, while perhaps once serving as unhealthy coping mechanisms, are now obstacles to a joyous, free life.
So it's about believing that a higher power works with us in this ongoing transformation. And then, in Step 7, humbly asking for that removal. It sounds like a powerful, active act of faith, letting go of things we've held on to, maybe even cherished unconsciously for so long. Is it about becoming perfect or something else?
Not at all about perfection, thank goodness. It acknowledges that we have positive attributes, that we are capable of kindness and love. We are not total shitbags, to use a rather direct phrase from one of our sources.
Ah, okay. Direct indeed.
But it makes the point. This humility opens the channel for a higher power to transmit grace, like the image of Ganesh removing obstacles, allowing a clear and undiminished light to radiate where those defects once cast shadows.
Opening the channel.
Yes. This willingness to submit to treatment, even if you cannot now see the meaning or purpose of it, is crucial. For women in particular, letting go of control and old patterns can feel terrifying given societal pressures and roles.
Yeah, the burden of responsibility.
Right. Yet it can offer relief and new possibilities, especially for those overburdened with responsibilities, realizing it's not up to them to keep everything functioning perfectly. This is a profound liberation from the self-imposed burden of control and the relentless pursuit of an impossible ideal. It's about accepting divine assistance to reshape character, not becoming flawless overnight.
Okay, so once we're ready to let go of these shortcomings and have humbly asked for their removal, the program moves outward again with steps 8 and 9.
Making amends.
Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all, and made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. This takes the inner work of self-reflection and spiritual surrender and brings it directly to the outside world, to real people. This must be incredibly difficult, too.
It certainly can be. This is about living our amends, not just making a one-time apology and moving on. The literature highlights that years of living with an alcoholic is almost sure to make any wife or child neurotic. The entire family is, to some extent, ill.
The ripple effect.
Exactly. So the impact of addiction is far-reaching, and the amends need to acknowledge that. Making amends is often described as a lifelong endeavor, and the example of my sobriety may give others hope and faith to help themselves. It's not just about the past, it's about future behavior.
Living differently going forward.
Right. It means being willing to do the right thing, no matter what the consequences may be for us. This moves beyond mere apology to a profound shift in behavior, a commitment to responsible, considerate living, and a conscious effort to repair the damage caused, where possible. It's about acknowledging the ripple effect of past actions and actively participating in healing those ripples.
Now, that condition, except when to do so would injure them or others, is a vital ethical caveat, isn't it? Preventing further harm seems paramount.
Absolutely crucial.
How does a sponsor help a sponsee navigate this incredibly delicate balance? Can you give us a concrete example of when an amends might cause more harm than good?
This requires great discernment and often direct guidance from an experienced sponsor, maybe even consulting with others. It's not always clear-cut. It's about honestly telling someone trustworthy about how messed up you are, which is what you do in step 5, right? And then, with that person's help, formulating amends that are both sincere and non-damaging. So, for example, a direct amends might cause injury if confessing a past affair to a spouse who is unaware could destroy their current stable, loving relationship, especially if children are involved.
Right, the collateral damage.
Or if admitting theft to an employer could result in their termination, leading to financial ruin for their family, especially if restitution can be made anonymously or through other means without revealing the identity.
Okay, so there are alternatives sometimes.
Yes. In these cases, a sponsor might guide the sponsee to indirect amends, perhaps through significant, consistent charitable acts, or demonstrating vastly changed behavior in other relationships over time, or finding a way to make anonymous restitution. The literature suggests the grace of God cures disharmony and disorder in human relationships, and by putting affairs into God's hands, he begins to effect a cure. The key is a sincere effort to repair harm, not necessarily a perfect outcome or a confession at all costs. We have to understand that God will do all that is necessary as painlessly as possible.
Painlessly as possible.
Interesting. A sponsor helps the sponsee prioritize the well-being of others and discern when a direct amends might cause more harm. It's a nuanced stance of responsibility and compassion, truly, living the principles. Steps 10, 11, and 12, ongoing growth and service.
As we emerge from the intense, often emotionally draining work of the earlier steps, Step 10 brings us to a continuous daily practice. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
The maintenance step.
Yeah, this sounds like daily spiritual maintenance for a sustained life of recovery, something entirely new for many people, I'd imagine.
That's precisely what it is. It's the application of our AA way of living to practical use, day by day, in fair weather or foul, not just when we feel like it.
Fair weather or foul.
Right. The acid test is whether we can stay sober, keep an emotional balance, and live to good purpose under all conditions, not just when things are going smoothly. It's a continuous look at our assets and liabilities, maybe a quick check-in at the end of the day, or even spot checks during the day. And it requires a real desire to learn and grow.
Spot checks, like catching yourself in the moment.
Exactly. This self-survey, done regularly, prevents the insidious accumulation of resentments, guilt, and character defects that can quietly build up and lead one back to old behaviors. It's about keeping oneself in fit spiritual condition, able to face whatever the day brings without the thought of a drink.
Fit spiritual condition, I like that.
It transforms the process from just crisis management to proactive spiritual development and emotional self-regulation.
So it's about being vigilant without being obsessive or falling into, like, paralyzing self-criticism. That seems like a fine line.
It can be.
One individual notes that, now, mid-interaction, I think, hang on, I'm being totally selfish here, but I only have this awareness because I work this program. I have a template. This immediate, in-the-moment awareness is the profound fruit of the previous steps, isn't it?
Yeah.
A direct result of the rigorous self-examination they've already undertaken.
Absolutely. This moment of self-awareness, that pause, that's the hallmark of real spiritual growth.
Yeah.
It's about developing the discipline to note growth or lack of it, and perhaps to ask in prayerful meditation to be relieved of those continuing shortcomings that cause me pain.
Yeah.
This daily practice keeps one in that fit spiritual condition, able to face whatever the day brings without immediately resorting to old coping mechanisms, like drinking.
Developing new habits.
Exactly. A sponsor helps a sponsee to develop this discipline, to refine their template, ensuring it doesn't become paralyzing self-criticism, but rather a powerful, compassionate tool for ongoing growth and self-correction. It's a crucial shift from dwelling on past wrongs to actively engaging in spiritual growth and right action in the present moment, building new, healthy habits of thought and behavior.
Step 11 then deepens that spiritual connection. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out.
Conscious contact.
This truly seems to be the heart of the ongoing spiritual journey, the engine room, maybe.
I think that's fair to say. This is where faith becomes a daily, tangible practice. It's about consciously turning my loved ones over to God, recognizing that fighting with fear often strengthens its hold over me, letting go of that need to control everything.
Turning things over. Daily.
Yes. Meditation here isn't necessarily about emptying the mind completely, like in some traditions. It's often described in the sources as to think contemplatively, finding quiet moments to calm my mind and think through the day ahead, or reflect on the day past. During these moments, by clearing my mind and asking my higher power to guide me, I find answers to my concerns.
Guidance.
Yes. This cultivates an inner guiding system, an intuition, which connects the soul life with the physical life, enabling direct revelation and knowledge of divine will as one understands it. It's a conscious, active seeking, not passive waiting.
The Lord's Prayer is specifically highlighted in some of the literature as a model for this type of prayer, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Designed to be uncorrupted and unspoiled through the ages, providing rapid spiritual development and meeting everyone's need just at his own level.
That universality again.
It's presented as a powerful, universal tool for seeking God's will, not our own, in the moment of stress. This speaks to the program's ability to transcend theological differences, focusing on the essence of spiritual connection.
What's truly fascinating here, and really key, is the unwavering emphasis on asking only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out, rather than demanding specific outcomes or personal desires. Please make this happen, or please give me that.
Not a cosmic vending machine.
Exactly. It aligns with the idea that in every situation, I am responsible for the effort and God is responsible for the outcome. This discipline, practiced daily, leads to an unshakable foundation for life and the ability to keep our balance in emotionally turbulent situations.
Effort versus outcome.
Yeah.
That's profound.
This daily communion, through prayer and meditation, is about strengthening the inner core, making one resilient to the vagaries of external circumstances, and shifting one's focus from self-serving desires to purposeful, guided action. It fosters a profound sense of peace and rightness, eventually.
And finally, step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Bring it all together.
This truly brings the journey full circle, doesn't it? From intensely personal recovery to outward-focused service and a transformed life. What does spiritual awakening mean in this context? Is it always a big flash of light? And how does it manifest?
Not usually the flash of light, no. The joy of living is the theme of this step, with action its keyword. A spiritual awakening is described as a new state of consciousness and being, received as a free gift, a profound internal transformation. One finds themselves in possession of a degree of honesty, tolerance, unselfishness, peace of mind, and love of which he had thought himself quite incapable. It's a personality change sufficient to bring about recovery.
A personality change.
Yes. It's not necessarily a dramatic, blinding flash, but often a gradual dawning of a new perspective. An educational variety, as William James might say. This new viewpoint allows one to turn monotony, pain, and even calamity to good use, finding meaning and purpose even in difficult experiences.
Finding the good even in the bad.
Right. It's not just about cessation of drinking, but a profound internal renovation, a complete reorientation of one's inner landscape.
The idea of carrying the message is absolutely central, isn't it? It's not just about staying sober yourself, but extending that hand, helping others find the same freedom and spiritual solution.
It's fundamental.
It speaks to that fundamental truth. By giving it away, you get to keep it.
Absolutely. The literature states it unequivocally. AA is more than a set of principles. It is a society of alcoholics in action. We must carry the message, else we ourselves can wither and those who haven't been given the truth may die.
That's stark. We wither.
It emphasizes the life or death importance and the reciprocal nature of service. This is often called 12-step work, and it's recognized as a vital part of maintaining one's own sobriety. It grounds you in gratitude and purpose. The speaker in one source describes realizing they were doing 12-step work by simply opening the hall, making coffee, and cleaning up.
Simple acts of service.
Exactly. Finding it a satisfying realization. This demonstrates that service isn't limited to formal sponsorship. It encompasses any act, big or small, that supports the community and its primary purpose of helping the still suffering alcoholic. It's about being part of something larger than oneself.
And practicing these principles in all our affairs extends recovery beyond meetings and formal service, right? Into the very fabric of daily life, family, work, social interactions, how one deals with stress or success.
Yes, this is crucial. It means extending patience, tolerance, and understanding to family members, consciously making amends through actions, not just words. It means asking daily, maybe as part of that Step 10 inventory, did I have a chance to be a friend today and miss it? Or did I have a chance to say I'm sorry and refuse to?
Living it, not just talking it.
Precisely. It's about living a life of principle, recognizing that one's personal recovery depends on AA unity, and that common welfare comes first. This continuous conscious application of the principles helps bridge the gap between initial sobriety and a truly transformed life. It ensures that spiritual growth permeates every aspect of existence, making the external actions congruent with the internal change. It becomes a way of life, not just a program you attend, navigating the journey, challenges, individuality, and community.
Okay, so when guiding a sponsee through these profound steps, it's clear the program provides an invaluable framework, but the experience itself is deeply personal.
Highly personal.
How do experienced members balance sticking rigorously to the foundational literature with tailoring the process to the individual? Where is that line between structure and flexibility?
That's a key question for any sponsor. What's fascinating here is the understanding that everyone gradually finds his or her own pace in moving through the steps. There's no rigid timeline. While the Big Book is rightly considered the basic textbook, the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions volume proposes to broaden and deepen the understanding of these steps. It adds layers.
Broaden and deepen.
Okay. This suggests that while the principles are universal and non-negotiable, the application is inherently individual. For example, some may initially prefer dry surroundings to protect their fragile sobriety, needing that safety net, while others find stimulating satisfaction in refraining from drinking when there's plenty of it under their noses, seeing it as a test of their newfound strength.
Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly. A skilled guide respects these individual differences, their varying paces, and their unique life circumstances, all while ensuring the core principles are not diluted or circumvented. It's about meeting them where they are, not forcing them to conform to a rigid ideal of what recovery should look like.
So a good sponsor truly acts as a guide, an experienced mentor rather than a dictator, respecting the sponsee's unique path and challenges. This involves a delicate balance of firm adherence to the program's structure and compassionate flexibility in its application.
Precisely. The literature says it beautifully. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. That applies to sponsorship too. It encourages us to have patience, open-mindedness, and willingness to listen to those I would lead.
Trusted servants.
Yes, the goal is for God to guide my words and my actions, not to impose one's own rigid interpretation or personality onto the sponsee. This is particularly relevant, as mentioned in some sources, for women whose contemporary lives are typically overburdened with responsibilities, often juggling work, family, and caregiving. Their sexual selves may also require specific healing, moving beyond using sex for acceptance and value to a yearning for connection that is alive, active, and whole-bodied.
Addressing specific needs.
Right. A sponsor needs to be acutely aware of the unique pressures and past traumas their sponsee might be carrying and adapt their guidance with sensitivity while always pointing back to the principles as the solution.
Now, recovery isn't a straight line, is it? It's often a winding, challenging path with inevitable bumps.
Definitely not straight. More like spirals.
One of the biggest hurdles, even after working the steps, seems to be that insidious self-deception again, and the tendency to rationalize old behaviors. How do these manifest, and how does a sponsor help navigate them?
Absolutely. As we touched on with Step 4, our fabulous capacity for self-deception is a lifelong companion. It doesn't just vanish. The text illustrates this vividly, noting how prized business honesty was presently converted into a comfortable cloak under which I could hide the many serious flaws that beset other departments of my life.
Compartmentalizing, right?
Yeah, believing your own PR.
Totally. This prevents genuine self-examination and can lead to a dry drunk syndrome where sobriety is maintained, maybe, but emotional and spiritual growth stagnates. Miserable sobriety.
Miserable sobriety. Another common pitfall is the belief that one or two drinks cannot make any difference once things are going well. That deadly first drink.
The cunning, baffling nature.
Exactly. A logic that invariably, almost universally for the real alcoholic, leads back to uncontrolled drinking. A sponsor's role is to gently but firmly highlight these deceptive patterns, encouraging continued honesty through daily inventory, Step 10, and reminding the sponsee of their fundamental powerlessness over alcohol, emphasizing that first drink phenomenon. It's about consistently bringing them back to the truth, their own truth discovered in Step 1, even when it's uncomfortable.
And the profound feeling of isolation, even within a group or after connecting with a sponsor, can be incredibly powerful, can it?
Oh, absolutely. Loneliness in a crowd.
Many people entering recovery have severed ties with healthy relationships or built relationships entirely around their drinking, creating a profound loneliness when the substance is removed. How do you guide someone through that unique social recalibration?
The experience of loneliness like never before is almost universal when stopping drinking. Even if the connection through drinking was artificial and ultimately destructive, it was a connection.
Right. It filled a void, however poorly.
Yes, many find that most of their relationships, probably 95%, were based on drinking. And these take immense time and effort to recalibrate, or sometimes, honestly, to let go of entirely.
Letting go can be hard.
Very. A sponsor helps a sponsee navigate this by encouraging active participation in the fellowship, attending meetings regularly, getting involved, connecting with other members, even if it feels awkward at first.
Like sober dating yourself, almost.
Yeah, or like going on a sober first date with new people. It's about finding better sources of dopamine or endorphins through healthy activities, service, and genuine connection, and finding more satisfying ways to have your needs for vitality and intimacy met, replacing the artificial highs of addiction with genuine connection, self-worth, and authentic belonging. It takes courage to forge new, sober connections, but it's vital.
Anger and resentment also seem to be recurring themes that can derail recovery, even years into sobriety. It's hard to let go of those deeply ingrained emotional patterns, isn't it? Especially if they've been a default response for so long.
Indeed. For those in recovery, the Big Book states flatly, anger is poison.
Poison. Strong word.
It is. The text states if we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the sudden rage were not for us. Anger can provide an illusion of power, a false sense of control or justification, maybe even a perverse kind of energy. But it's a false security that ultimately destroys inner peace and jeopardizes sobriety.
So what does the program teach? Just suppress it?
No, not suppression. It teaches us not to suppress anger, but to recognize it. Express the feelings in the healthiest way I can find, and then let them go. Acknowledge, feel, release. Recognizing that the only real power available to me is that which is mentioned in the 11th step. The power to carry out God's will, not my own angry will.
Finding a healthier outlet.
Yes. A sponsor guides a sponsee to acknowledge and ultimately release this resident rage that can take one hostage, preventing genuine peace of mind and progress. This involves recognizing anger as a symptom, often of underlying fear or hurt, not a solution, and learning new ways to process and release it through the steps, prayer, and talking about it.
Okay, let's talk about the community itself. One of the fundamental and most beautiful principles of the program is the power of fellowship. What's so unique and potent about the support system it offers?
The fellowship offers a sanctuary, a place where one never again have to be alone, finding understanding I'd been searching for all my life, that deep identification.
Never alone again.
It's a powerful promise. It's a group where everyone speaks for himself or herself with no spokesperson, no authority, fostering an environment of individual approach to our common purpose recovery. The elders of the group gently offered suggestions when change seemed impossible, and everyone's shared experiences became the substance for treasured friendships.
Shared experience, strength, and hope.
Exactly. This unity and shared purpose are paramount. As Tradition 1 states, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. Essentially, without unity, AA dies. It's a unique support system built on shared vulnerability, mutual aid, and the profound power of one alcoholic helping another. A bond forged in shared struggle and shared triumph.
And anonymity, which seems so counterintuitive in our age of pervasive self-promotion and personal branding, is a cornerstone of this community. Why is it so vital, and what does it truly protect?
Anonymity is described as the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. That phrase again.
Principles before personalities.
It prevents excessive personal publicity that can lead to inflation of self-pride and thus endanger to sobriety. A very real threat for those whose egos were often intertwined with their drinking or even their recovery success.
Protects against ego inflation.
Yes. It also protects the individual, particularly newcomers, from stigma and potential misuse of the AA name or their association with it. More profoundly, it allows individuals to focus on the message, the core principles of recovery, not the messenger, ensuring that the message to the still suffering alcoholic is carried effectively without personal ego, fame, or charisma getting in the way.
So the message isn't dependent on who delivers it.
Precisely. It ensures that no one person can become so prominent as to define or potentially endanger the entire fellowship. It preserves the purity and integrity of the program for everyone, for all time, hopefully.
This concept of attraction rather than promotion is very powerful in building trust and maintaining the focus on recovery itself, isn't it?
Extremely powerful.
It allows people to come to the program on their own terms, drawn by the evident success and serenity they see in others, rather than being persuaded by high-profile campaigns or celebrity endorsements. It feels more organic, a deeply human pull.
It fosters humility and ensures the focus remains on the shared solution, not on individual personalities or marketing. It works. Ouch.
Wow, what an incredibly deep dive into the profound journey of guiding someone through the 12 steps.
It really covers a lot of ground.
We've truly seen how crucial it is to understand the complex, multifaceted nature of addiction first, then to lean on the foundational literature like the Big Book, and to approach each step with both an unwavering adherence to principles and a deep, empathetic compassion.
And we've underscored the importance of setting clear, realistic expectations. Recognizing that sobriety is just a bare beginning, isn't it? It's like laying a concrete slab on which to build a new, meaningful life.
Just the beginning.
Right. Tailoring the process means meeting the sponsee exactly where they are, acknowledging that everyone gradually finds his or her own pace, and that faith, in its broadest, most inclusive sense, is deeply personal. It's about fostering an environment where profound transformation can truly take root and flourish.
From the daunting task of the moral inventory in step 4 to the profound vulnerability of making amends in 8 and 9. And then the daily discipline of living these principles in steps 10, 11, and 12 in every aspect of life. It's clear that true spiritual guidance involves walking alongside someone.
Walking with them, yes.
Offering experience, strength, and genuine hope, not just giving advice or commands. It's about being that trusted servant, not a governor, and fostering that sense of connection and belonging that is so vital for true healing.
Ultimately, this entire journey is about moving from a divided self to wholeness, from destructive isolation to profound connection, and from an unmanageable self-will to a surrender to something infinitely greater.
Wholeness and connection.
Yes. The goal isn't just to stop drinking, as crucial as that is. It's to find freedom of truth and an unshakable foundation for life, what the literature describes so beautifully as a glorious release from being all alone. It's a profound reorientation of one's entire being, really, a spiritual rebirth.
So, whether you're supporting someone through the steps, perhaps contemplating this path for yourself, or simply seeking a deeper understanding of human resilience and transformation, remember this. The destination isn't just sobriety. It's a life transformed, imbued with honesty, humility, and a deep, abiding sense of purpose. It's a powerful testament to the human spirit and the strength found in spiritual connection and a supportive community.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over today. If, as one writer put it, man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions, what unexpected new direction might your life take? What profound new self might you discover if you truly embraced the creative power within, that connection to a higher power, and allowed yourself to be guided by principles that transcend immediate circumstance and the dictates of your own limited will? Something to think about.
Something deep to think about. Until next time, keep diving deep.